Welcome to Author's Tales, where we go beyond the words and into the heart of the storyteller.
Every book holds a story, but beyond the pages lies something even greater: the journey. The long nights, the countless rewrites, the moment when doubt whispers and passion shouts back louder. This is where authors share their truth, the struggles, the breakthroughs, and the moments that made them believe in their story.
If you love a great story or dream of writing your own, you're in the right place.
Because every book has a voice, every author has a tale, and the best stories, they don't just get told, they get lived.
This is Author's Tales, where stories come to life. Good morning. Wow, I got to tell you, I got a great treat for you today. Let me ask you, when was the last time you did something that you've been thinking about, but you kept putting it off? My guest today is an incredible human being who's going to help you understand that you need to get to it. Let me go ahead and bring him on. Chris, how are you today, my friend? How's everything going?
Oh, I'm doing fantabulous, just like every other day. What is it? 1% better every day. How about
I
you?
love it. I love it. When you decided to become an author, it was right away, or did you have to think about it for a while?
Honestly, I had to think about it for quite a long time. I've
Mm.
never been a book person. I've read a lot, just never
Right.
had the inclination to put anything out there per se.
Mm. But you did come up with this incredible book right here, right? So let's talk about that for a little bit because the art of putting things off. It's so funny. I was just talking to somebody like 20 minutes ago, and I said, "Have you ever put anything off?" I said, "I'm going to have this author on my show." He goes, "Oh my God, I do it all the time." Is that something that you hear very common from people?
Oh yes, I mean it's definitely very common. I'd like to just take an aside there. I mean, it's not that we're lazy or we're broken. A lot of times when we're putting these things off, it's just avoiding some sort of discomfort, right? It's
Mm,
not. It's a defense mechanism, misplaced one maybe, unmodulated maybe, but it is a defense mechanism.
mm. So one of the things, and I'm going to put this up so people can take a look at it. So would you mind reading that for us because it is so I love this that you wrote here for us. Would you mind?
Sure thing. While the book itself is satire, the book is meant to be a reminder or to encourage you to start thinking about procrastination and its effects.
What made you write a satire?
Uh, I've always identified people who watch my podcast know I like the favorite cartoon characters. Everybody always asks me what's mine, right?
Mm,
And I came up with Deadpool, and not because of the violence, not because of the mercenary like character, but because he kind of deals with everything using satire and humor. And when I was growing up, um, and I still do to this day, I like to see the lighter side of things. I like to kind of take a little bit of the heat off with some comedy, because I mean, if you're not laughing, you're crying or worse. So
mm.
you might as well laugh, right?
Yes, I agree with that. Um, how long, and you said that you were not, you read a lot, right? But you never thought yourself as an author. Were you procrastinating or you were not just ready? And let's define
Uh,
that.
right. So I think it falls into both camps. I was dragging my feet because I wasn't ready to put something out there because I always struggled with what to put out there. because and this is a big thing for many authors, especially in nonfiction areas, is that imposter syndrome, and also, well, I'm already writing something that's already been out there for so many, even thousands of years. This type of information has been out there, right? Um, but I wouldn't call it procrastinating. I call it procrastinating after I decided I was going to do it, because it was something
Mm.
that many people had told me needs to be in the repertoire. But after they told me that, I said, yeah, that's when I started procrastinating, because I just didn't put a lot of priority into it.
Gotcha. So you talk about procrastination and priority. Talk to us about the difference, if there is one.
Oh, there's a big difference. Priority is that you're putting something off because something is more urgent than another thing, right?
Mhm.
There's really no underlying discomfort that you are technically avoiding there. It's just that you are, um, you've just prioritized it because of whether it's time, or whether it's, maybe the gas station is next to the favorite taco stand or something. And so you put off getting gas until lunchtime or something, right?
Mm.
But procrastination at its core is really that you are avoiding something for discomfort, and it turns into like an issue when you do it consistently. I mean, we all procrastinate, every once in a while. Some people call it strategic procrastination. Other people put things off just because, again, we don't want to be uncomfortable, or we think it's going to take too long, or something to that effect. But if you're doing it once or twice on certain things, it's really not a problem. If you're doing it every single day and you can't get you know, that fence paid in for, 2 or 3 years, or real example, I bought a new chair, and it's been sitting there since November 2023 now, I believe. So
Mm.
I'll do it.
No. What kind of chair? What kind of chair is it?
Well, interestingly enough, and the reason I'm procrastinating on that chair is because it's a gaming chair, like what I'm sitting in now, because they're really
Right.
comfortable. And what happened is I just got in this flurry, thinking, oh, I'm had my office space renovated a little bit, get a new chair, and my old chair still works fine. So therefore, I'm comfortable. Therefore, that
Um,
chair is gonna stay in the box until it's an absolute necessity to put it together.
that makes a lot of sense because you still have comfort. It's not like yelling at you right from the box, if you will. Um, so when we think about procrastination, a lot of people have to be yelled at. Like I just said, yelled, right? So, like kids, we start learning to put things off, right? And really, isn't that what procrastination is? To put things off when it's more convenient, if you will.
Oh, for sure, and that all comes down to the discomfort. I mean, everybody when they're growing up and going to school. Well, okay, most people when they're growing up and going to school, when you have a choice between doing homework and playing a video game or going outside, whatever your choice of dopamine hit is. Obviously, you're going to want to do the thing that you want to do, because one, we don't explain to our kids how important homework is, and two, it's so far off to be important that you know, it's not that they're lazy, or it's just that they're, really not interested. There's no why. When the why is high, your cost is low.
Mm.
And I think that's something that we're missing a lot in education, is we always say, "Oh, it's important." And everybody says, "Well, why?" "Because I said so." And that's that's normally where it stops, right?
Mm. So you also you published a book to draw attention to the fact that we all go in on authors, and most of the time we don't even really read the book. How many
Oh, yeah.
people, and you're right on that, because I have an app on my phone that a friend of mine gave me, and it's a great app. Let me see if I can even find it on my phone because it allows you to Book Buddy. Yeah, that's the name of it, and it's a great app that will help you read a book, right? So because I have a wood shop, I also created 3 separate bookshelves. They're all 6 feet high, and what winds up happening is one bookshelf is for books I've read, like 3 feet, wide by 6 feet high, books I've read, right? That's just one of many bookshelves I have. Then I have books that I'm starting to read, and then the other shelf is books I need to read. But so I'm transferring them over. What would you say to people who buy a book because they think it's art and they just put it on their coffee table?
Well, anyone who buys a book, I don't think anybody. Well, I personally don't buy books just for art. I do
Mhm.
know of interior designers who have done that.
Right.
There are also decorative books, but I know that we're all guilty, at least in part. I know I've done this too. I've bought a few books that I've never cracked open that I thought I needed to read. I've actually started to go back and read those though. The only thing that I would say is that as long as that book or book cover has value to you and brings you joy, then go ahead and store it on the coffee table,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
or in the
yeah.
bathroom on the back of the toilet, or in the kitchen, or wherever you might think you need it.
Yeah, I agree. I remember the first book that it was actually my ex-wife that was sitting on my coffee table was the one that Madonna did. And at that time, that was a very expensive book. It was a big book. I think at the time it was $50, which is probably comparable to $100 now, maybe 150. But it sat on my table. And I was like, where'd that come from? She goes, I saw it. I had to buy it. I'm like, okay. I think I glanced at it once. I just went through the pages. I never opened it again because I kind of read it, right? If you think of it.
Mhm.
Do people who actually read books, I know I do. I read books more than once. Do procrastinators do that? Because maybe they like a particular book and then they don't want to pick up a new one because it's a whole new thing that they have to deal with.
Depending on the kind of procrastinator, for sure.
Mm,
I mean, I've done this myself. And we were taught to do it in school too. For English, we might be reading one book, and for Spanish literature, we might be reading another one. But normally, what it was with me, and yeah, I'll read a book more than once if I feel it's valuable.
mm,
If it's a fluff piece, or if it's like a promotional piece, like what you said, I might just flip through it, and maybe read skim through it. But any
mm,
book that has value, you're going to read it more than once, and that's really what it comes down to in procrastination, across the board too. If you're interested in something, you're never going to drop it. You're never going to let it go. It's how do you become interested in those things with which you have to do,
mm,
and that actually comes down to one of the big hacks, right? Because we all do things that we're bored with, right? We go stand in line at the grocery store, we stand in line at concerts, we stand in line at movies, we stand in line a lot, right?
right.
And essentially, what I like to say is, if you're bored, and I tell this to my daughter all the time, she gets so mad at me. She says, "Oh, it's so boring. The class is so boring." I said, do you know what boredom is?
Mm,
Boredom is, and it really it's the same thing when you drill it down. Boredom is that you think you know everything you need to know, therefore it's unimportant, therefore you're not interested in it.
mm,
So an easy way to get out of that is just to ask yourself, what am I missing? So I'm sitting there at bored out of my gourd, watching paint dry, and yes, it can work for that. It's like, what am I missing? Oh, well, the tackiness of the paint, or maybe the smell of the paint, or
mm,
do I know everything about that paint?
right.
Like, no, I don't, probably. Like, do I know where it's made? Oh, do I? No. So, and then that kicks your brain into the curiosity mode.
Right.
And it's not going to cure the boredom, probably. I mean, it's still paint drying. It's going to make
Mm.
it slightly more bearable, at least.
Yeah. If you have to sit there and watch it, I think that could be uh, it's you must be meditating if that's what you're doing to watch the paint dry. When you I'm going to suggest to everybody who's watching or even on the replay, I'm gonna share the QR code so you can pick up your own copy of the book. And when you consider all the different avenues that we have out there, when we stop procrastinating, we realize that, oh my God, why did I wait so long when look at look what I have been missing this whole time, right? Talk to us about that.
Oh, the time dilation or time blindness is a very real thing. Um, Again, we're creatures of comfort. We don't want to be uncomfortable.
Mm,
So the brain is going to, protect us. I just did air quotes for those of you who are listening on the audio one. I
right?
mean, it's there to protect us,
Mm,
but um, it that protect doesn't have any modulation. So boring is uncomfortable. Boring is literally pain. I just did the air quotations again.
mhm,
So we put things off because we just don't want to be comfortable, and our brain will just come up with these excuses and these worst case scenarios because 10,000 years ago when we were naked and running through the woods, the brain evolved as a predictive machine to keep you alive.
mm,
So, if you saw George get bitten by a snake, you're all of a sudden 100% looking for snakes all the time. And, every time you see a snake, you're immediately going to say, oh, that snake's going to bite me and it's going to kill me. And so your brain is not going to say that you want to do that. Now, that translates to, I really need to go grocery shopping. Man, that's going to take me like 2 hours. I don't know. I don't want to do that today. Right.
mm.
But when you go and it only takes you 30 to 45 minutes, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. But it's because your brain is trying to keep you safe from that discomfort.
Mm. I like what you did here is the footnotes are all examples of what I could have been doing. You could have been doing it, but you keep putting them off, right? So instead of writing the book, they're meant to draw attention to how easily it is to get distracted. Um, what's the difference when you're trying to navigate that from being distracted to being attracted, if you will, because the words are very close together. And what is it that's attractive about doing something or being distracted because you're putting it off?
Well, again, it comes back to that, the comfort level, right? I mean, we're all interested in being comfortable.
Mm,
And it's funny because we will go out of our way to find an easier or better way to do something. And we will spend literally 8 to 10 times on
mm,
average trying to figure out how to do it in a simpler, better, easier way than it would just to do the task itself. And this is a trap that a lot of us get stuck
right.
in. I mean, I've been stuck in it too. But in order to get attracted, again, going back to, why are you doing it? Why are you choosing to do it? A lot of it is taking back your power. People, we go through life and we think that we don't have a choice many times, right? But that's not
Mm,
true. We're choosing every single time. That you cannot not make a decision. If you have two choices, A and B, and you say, "Well, I'm not going to choose," you just made a decision. So why not go with
right.
either A or B?
Yeah, yeah. So we have what you're saying is that we choose or somebody chooses for us.
Nope, we always choose.
Do we?
Um, oh yes, we always choose.
Even
Even
when
in those.
when we were kids and our parents told us what to do?
Oh yeah, you
We
still have
chose
a
not
choice.
to do it, right? And get in
Well,
trouble.
yeah. Yes, but that's the point. It's still a choice, right? I mean, I can choose to ignore what my father says to me, knowing what the consequences will be, but I still chose to do
Mm,
that. Or my dad, or my father would tell me to go to bed on time. I could choose to do that to not have bad consequences, but it's still a choice. And I think that we really need to switch that around a lot, because it really causes this, what's the word I'm looking for? Like hopelessness, kind
mm,
of this veil of hopelessness on the world when you say you don't have a choice. I mean, Are there difficult things you have to do? Yes. Are there things where you can realistically say I had no choice? No. You had no choice because you wanted a certain outcome. You always have the choice.
Right.
And I know that I'm going to get pushback on that because I've gotten pushback on it before. But it's like if somebody holds a gun to my head and tells me to rob a bank, or straps a bond me and tells me to rob a bank, whatever you want to take. And now I just said two words that are going to get banned on YouTube. Um, and you decide not to do it, then yeah, you'll forfeit your life. Or you decide to do it, and maybe not forfeit your life, right? But the thing is that you're still making that choice. You're still choosing to do it,
Mm.
and it doesn't seem like it. But by taking back that power, you'll have a much better time because you're not resisting, and you are again pretty extreme example, but I'll give you a real example. So it was a long day after a week's work of work, and I just got and sat down on the couch, flipped on the TV. I was about to start my favorite show. Wanted to binge watch. Guilty pleasure, yeah. And so the wife all of a sudden says, "No, no, 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 no! You got to help with the dishes." Like, excuse me, I have to. I have
Mm.
to. I have
Mm.
to. Like, no, no, I don't have to. But I got up and I choose to because, I value the relationship I have with my wife. And I know that doing the dishes is going to take me maybe what, 10, 15 minutes or whatever if I'm drying and putting them away. And I can go back and watch my show unimpeded. Or I could choose to sit there and ignore it. And I hope that couch is comfy because I'm sleeping there later so it's still a choice.
That is still that's a choice that you'll regret later, right?
Still a choice.
But but all choices have consequences, Chris,
Yeah.
right? One of the things that we have put across the screen is for people to be able to go ahead and take a look at this here. When you click on this link here, right? Your QR code, you're going to scan it with your phone. We will also put um, the links in the show notes so that you can go ahead and purchase your own book on the art of putting things off, right? So what I'm asking you is don't put it off now. Go ahead and click on and get that book. One of the cool things that you're doing is that you're going to, which is pretty big of you, I gotta admit, is that you've included two complimentary coaching sessions with the book when they purchase the book.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. That's like insane, my friend. So they buy the book and they get two coaching sessions with you.
Mhm.
Did you
Correct.
lose something? Did you lose something along the way? Why are you doing this?
Well, I think that it's important for everyone to have accessible and like I'll even go one further, and you'll really call me crazy. I've even honored that on a gifted book.
Really?
So yes, really, and I stand by it, and I stand by it because we live in a world where I think everybody is just inundated with stuff,
Mm.
mind stuff, business stuff, body stuff, health stuff. And we don't always have the time or necessarily the resources to do that. So I include two complimentary coaching sessions to give you a good framework and so that you'll be able to go ahead and start tackling that yourself.
Oh, wow. So is somebody going to come in for the complimentary lessons because they're a heavy procrastinator? Is there levels to procrastination?
Oh, there certainly are levels to procrastination. um Again, it ranges on this one thing that you can't get done to I can't get anything
Mm.
done. And most of the time when people come to me, it is often as like a last resort because they've tried the AI apps, they've tried the calendars, they've tried the Trello, they've tried these other things, and they still can't get things done. And the thing is that we all look at time management in the wrong way. um, maybe we're spread too thin. Maybe we're putting our most energetically taxing activities right at the beginning of the day, and then we've got no energy for the rest of the day, or maybe we're putting all our hard tasks at the end of the day, and again, we've done everything, so we no longer want to do those, right? So
Mm.
it's a very holistic approach. We get into things like even nutrition. We get into things like exercise, mindfulness, meditation. What are drainers? What are energizers? If you can't do anything to move a certain activity, maybe make it. Yeah, we like to call it a turd sandwich. I'm being polite. You do, 10 to 15 minutes of something that energizes you. Then you do the thing is going to drain you. Then you do another 10 to 15 minutes of the thing that's going to energize you, and you go through that way.
Well, well. So you're helping people understand. Are you giving them skills when they have this coaching call with you?
Yes, they are going to get skills. The main skill is, although I will say that it's normally not how to schedule or how to use an app or how to do whatever, because everybody knows how to do that. I can fill my calendar all day long and still not do anything. I mean, I actually did that a few days ago. I just put my calendar in with a bunch of random stuff so nobody would book me, but like I never did anything on that calendar though.
Right.
And so what it really is we look at energy levels, we look
Mm.
at focus, we look at the different things and the way of reasoning through procrastination, any procrastination. I'll actually tell you that right now because it's a very effective tool, and it helps you really um, get started on it. And so what it is you take whatever you're putting off and you break it down into the smallest steps possible. And by doing that, you will get to learn where your resistance is or where the block is, and then you'll be able to potentially fix it or understand why you do it. And this
Mm.
has ripple effects across your entire life, and you won't even know it.
Mm.
Again, I'll give you a real example so that you understand how it works. It's not a
Thank you.
really important one, but so I'm not a gym guy, but I do, like to go outside. I like to, I have an exercise bike and a treadmill, and some weights that I like to do. And I normally get up at 5:30 in the morning to go do that. Summertime rolls around, of course, Canada, so it's cold. So summertime rolls around. It's nice outside. Daughter's at the school. I say, okay, I want to spend more time with my daughter. I don't really feel like exercising. Nicer things to do. So I'll just pick it up when she gets back in school. No big deal, right? Because the weather's not as nice anyway. So September rolls around. I get back into the routine. She gets back into school, and I'm good until about end of October, beginning of November, and I started to drag my feet. Started to not want to get up at 5:30. Started to not
Mm.
want to go out to the garage to do the exercises. Like, hang on, wait a second, break it down. Okay, getting up at 5:30, obviously not a problem. Doing the exercises, obviously not a problem. The garage, going to the garage. Oh, it's
There's the
colder outside. It's cold in the garage. Therefore, I don't like being cold. Therefore, I added one step. I just added the step of turning on that little heater before when I woke up in the morning, went to get a cup of coffee, and lo and behold, no more procrastination.
Mm.
So, that was a way for me to understand why I was procrastinating, and I actually managed to fix it. Now, is everything going to be that easy and fixable? Not necessarily, but it goes to show you how quickly it can be fixed. And then that I understood that, which seems like common sense, but we have all this information rambling around in our subconscious that we don't really think about, hence subconscious, right? And I don't like being cold. So where are other areas in my life that I've been putting things off? Building a snowman with my daughter, going
Mm.
on walks, going on these other things, doing other things. But if I know that, and again, this is common sense, right? I should have known this, but it didn't dawn on me until I did that exercise that I could do the same thing for all those other activities too, and not
Mm.
procrastinate on
What I'm gathering is that sometimes the reason we may procrastinate is because obstacles are in the way, right?
them. Okay.
So it's figuring out what the obstacles are, because sometimes we don't do a deep dive enough to understand what the obstacle is. So we may have to sit back a little bit, take the bigger picture, and then realize, wait a minute, it takes these things to make all this happen. What is it that I don't like? Or what is it that's stopping me from moving forward, right?
Oh no, for sure. And I actually have a little parable for you, actually, for that little story. And it's about how we can look at procrastination as something that happens to everybody, and a lot of times we put things off because we don't think we have what we need, or that what we need isn't readily available. And I
Mm,
use this story to really illustrate the point. So we have a salmon, a monkey, and a mountain goat, and they're all sitting at the base of this mountain, and they all want to get to the top. And so the mountain goat sits there and thinks about it one day, and so he goes ahead and he starts jumping up the mountain. He's a mountain goat, so he has no problem with the sharp rocks and going up the sides and going up the mountain. Gets to the top, bleats out his celebratory thing, and the salmon and the monkey are sitting down there and they're watching him do that and saying, "Okay." So the monkey is the next one up, and he takes a couple of days. He knows that the goat went up there, sees the goat's really happy, says, "I want that too." And he says, "Well, the goat's got feet. I got feet. Like, let's give this a go." And so the monkey starts walking up the mountain. And about halfway up, the monkey notices that his feet aren't like the mountain goats, and he's getting cut on the sharp rocks and different things that are on the side. And so he says, "Well, that's not going to do any good." And he notices a tree nearby, so he climbs the tree, and he noticed that he could swing from tree to tree a lot faster
mm,
because he's got those arms with the opposable thumbs, and his feet didn't hurt. So he gets to the top of the mountain, and he shouts his triumphant cry, and the salmon's still down at the bottom of the mountain, saying, "Wow, that looks great. The mountain goat and the monkey got theirs. Maybe I can get mine." But and here's the but, and the sort of the sad part of the story is that the salmon, after 2 or 3 days of thinking about it, and really looking at it, and really wanting it, said to himself, "I don't have no feet. I don't have no arms. I'm just not going to bother." And if he had taken a chance to, look at the mountain a little bit closer, he would have noticed a stream running up the side that he could have swum up.
mm.
So, a lot of times procrastination can be external in that we think we don't have what we need, or what we need isn't available. And it
Yeah,
always is.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting when we sometimes put things off as well because we want someone else to do it, right? Talk to us about about
Mm.
putting it on somebody else so that maybe we don't have to deal with it.
Oh, that's a lovely sentiment for the person who's doing it. I've done it. Let me think. What year is it? 2025. Yeah, I can tell this story. It's not going to put me in a very good light, but it'll go to show that I know where you're coming from. My last year of high school, I was in the International Baccalaureate program, and I did not do any of my 8 lab reports that I was supposed to do in the 2 years.
Mm,
And I remember the last week of school, sitting there. It was a Central American school, and bright sunlight. There's a nice big tree out here. It looked so peaceful. One little tiny cloud in the sky,
yeah.
birds singing. And my biology teacher walks in, and she just says to me, "So, Chris, what are you planning on doing?" And so, I just sat outside. I just sat there next to the window. I look out, look at the sun shining through, the birds. Really good sense of peace. Yeah, read the room. And I just turned around to her and I said, "Pray." And she just got so mad. And there's a whirlwind of activity. My parents were dragged into the office there, like I was in the second
Mm,
grade. I was
mm.
sitting there. But in their infinite wisdom, since they'd never had anyone flunk out, they decided to let me copy off of the smartest kid in the class who had the best grades.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I can say it now because
You're not there
we're going
anymore.
on, well, it's like 20 years ago. Well, I don't even know if the school's still there. I think it is, but everybody that was involved is definitely retired or
Mm,
gone. But yeah, I mean, that is totally valid, and yes, that actually did impact me a little bit. And this actually can happen naturally again
mm.
in children if we helicopter parent. And I am guilty of this as well. I'm getting better at it. But when we go ahead and we tie, like, even my daughter still does it now. Like, if she knows we're going out somewhere, um, and maybe she doesn't necessarily want to go, and you're not bribing her to go, right? We all have that. Then she'll sit there and say, "Hey, can you help me tie my shoes?" And if you don't do it, you do long enough. She knows that if she sits there long enough, one of us will go over and help her with it, even though she doesn't really need it, right? But
Right.
so it can happen, yeah.
Mm. When we that had to have an impact on you because you realize that other people will step in when I don't do what I'm supposed to,
Mm.
right?
It did to some effect, yeah.
Mm.
Um, so where that really manifested itself, though, was more in some of my first jobs where I really didn't
Mm.
care. The sort of intermittent jobs you had. I worked at a few call centers, and we'd frequently get, you know, have liquid lunches and things, right? But knowing that we had one responsible coworker, Maria, our boss, right? And if we didn't get back to the chair on time, she'd either find somebody to put them in the chair, or she'd be in the chair herself taking those calls. And you know, there were supposed to be consequences and write-ups and things like that, but that just never happened. I couldn't go back and tell you why that never happened, but it just never did. So
Mm.
yeah, it did work out for a little bit in a bad way.
Right, right. When we talk about your book, right? So let's figure out one of the things that your book definitely does do is it helps people think about procrastination with satire, right? Uh, Thinking about your book, you left blank pages intentionally so that people can do what exactly?
Well, if I mean, people can do whatever they really want with the book. I would encourage you to use it to, try out different methods. I mean, there's the ABC matrix, there's the Eisenhower box, there's the um, Lude's model. There's so many different things that you can do. You can use it to make lists. You can use it to note puzzles in. I had one person who bought the book, and they started to play mastermind in it.
Mm,
Um, so I mean, if you want to use it to work with me, then yeah, I'll work with you to figure out if it's journaling, if it's listing, if it's chunking, sort of what works best for you. Um, Other than that, you can use those pages really for anything that you really want to.
mm. Nice, nice. What's your advice for parents who, being that you have a child, right? What's your advice for kids who like to procrastinate, and how can parents deal with that?
So parents aren't gonna like me very much for what I'm going to say next, I'm sure. But one of the things that has really helped in my case is, as the child is able to, like as they come up, make sure that they understand the reason behind why they're doing things, and the whys, right? So
Mm,
like for my daughter who says she doesn't want to go to school, she says the grades don't matter. She's very smart. She's way too smart.
mm,
She said that it doesn't matter because she's figured out that the good old education system up until high school will just keep pushing you forward to not cause a social disruption as you're
mm.
going on the way up. And so she can do the work, she can not do the work. It doesn't matter. She gets shuffled on to the next one.
Right.
Um, like I said, very smart. But, I have to sit down and have to explain to her that, schoolwork is important. You're not going there to learn right now. And I had to tell her that. I had to concede that. I had to say, you're absolutely right. This right now, whatever happens in that school does not matter. What matters is that you learn how to learn, you learn how to follow rules when you need to, and you learn how to interact and know other people. And when I worded it that way, she's still like, I don't like people. It's okay. People suck. Like, okay. And I said, and so I had to go to the different ways. I had to say, um, "You like being in that school?" She's like, "Hell no! I'm counting the years and the days." She's got it down to the day when she's exiting that school. And
Really?
I said, "Wow!" And I said, "Wow, you have a lot of confidence in that, don't you?" She's like, well, yeah,
Mm.
of course I do. I was like, okay, if you don't do the work and you don't get the grades that you need to get, then yes, the system pushes you forward, but it will not graduate you.
Mm.
So you're just going to be stuck there until you do it. So right now you've got three choices in my eyes. You can go and give it your best. You can go and do nothing and then suffer summer school after, you know, or, you could just, keep on doing what you're going to do and hope that the system is going to push you through. Which of those sounds the best to you? And by giving them the choice, by putting the
Mm.
power back in their hands, because again, it's a choice. You know, actions have consequences and things, but still a choice.
Mhm.
And I thought it almost backfired on me because I noticed for about 3 weeks she didn't do anything. And I was kind of sitting there, and she came to me the next day afterwards, and she showed me she was studying for things and stuff. She's like, she realized that she really wants out of that school. Okay, it's fine. If that's your motivation, so be it. But you have to kind of meet your kids where they are,
Mhm.
and you have to really explain why things matter. Because if we just say because I said so, I
Ooh.
mean, we all know how well that works. I mean, come on.
Mm.
I mean, I went through it. You went through it. I'm sure anyone who's listening went through it. So why would we think that doing the same thing with our kids is going to work?
Mm. It's I love the way you put it to her, and you gave her three choices that she can choose. Um, of course, you wanted her to pick number one, right?
She did. It was. I have to tell you, like it was one of those times where I was sitting there and I was like, did I make the wrong decision? Did I make the wrong? Come on, course correct. Come on.
Yeah.
She did.
Where do you see business with procrastination?
Oh, business. I see a lot of procrastination in business. But the procrastination in business, I've often found if it's entrepreneurs, it's because they've lost the motivation for their business. So they'll put things
Mm.
off like networking or expanding or putting out new products or whatever the case may be
Mm.
because they're really not feeling it, right? Yeah, this happens with top level CEOs and owners of companies all the time. They all of a sudden lose the passion that they had for the business, right? That causes them to put things off. Um, in other ways, in the world of programming, oh boy, programming.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
they operate differently than we do, and so a lot of the procrastination again that I see in the workplace is just misalignment. It's not really procrastination. It seems like procrastination. It's more
Mhm.
misalignment because every time I've talked to programmers and they've said that, oh, we've got a bottleneck or we're behind on this project, it's because you have a senior developer. Okay, he's been developing applications, he's been developing maps, he's been developing all sorts of functionalities. And what does this guy do? He puts them on changing colors and fonts on a website. And this is something that anybody can do. It was a WordPress website. So it's anything they can do with that. Like, and he's like, he hasn't done it. It's been assigned to him for 2 weeks. He hasn't done it.
Mm.
Yeah, you're asking Michelangelo to do a stick drawing. Like, I
Right.
mean, like, I can understand. I mean, I don't agree with him completely ignoring it. I don't think he's doing it on purpose either.
Mm.
But see, in his mind, those changes are only going to take him 10, 15 seconds. So
Right.
everything else is automatically more important because it's going to take more of his time. The problem is that time blindness, and then we get task blindness, wherein if we let something slide long enough, it goes to the bottom of the list, it gets pushed down and then out of sight, out of mind, right?
Mm.
Which is a lot of procrastination in business. Up until you get like nasty letters from the tax man or you final notice on light bill you forgot to pay, something like that. That's where I normally see that.
Mm. I just want to remind everybody that everybody gets two complimentary coaching sessions with Chris just by purchasing the book. It's that simple, people. If you are a procrastinator, if you keep putting things off that you know you shouldn't, even, working on the garage, cleaning out the basement, taking your team out for lunch even. Because, oh, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. You may not be connecting with your team. So you need to connect with your team more. So don't put things off. Here's one thing you shouldn't put off. Get yourself get the book, and here's the link that you can do it. And you're going to get 2 complimentary sessions, and Chris can talk to you about whether it's your family life or your personal life or your business life. Am I right, Chris?
Oh, for sure. And often, I'm going to go on a limb and say it's never business and it's never family. It's always personal.
Love it. Chris, this has been very inspirational to me, and thank you for not putting this off. For
Thank
either
you for
one
having
of us, right? I was excited when we said we're going to do it. Listen, I am thrilled that you came on, that I got to take a look at your book and understand that sometimes we have to look at our list and maybe just tackle it. Just go for it. And the consequences will be better once we do it, right?
No, that's for sure.
All right. Chris, thank you so much for being here, my friend. What a pleasure. And I look forward to having you on my other shows. Everybody, do me a favor. Click on this. Pick this book up. It's going to change something for you. All right, everybody. Have a blessed day, and we will talk soon, everybody. Take care. Thank you for watching Author's Tales. Stay updated and meet new authors. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Sifu Raphael TV. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn, and visit our website. Your support means the world to us.